Questions about Mayor Bob Filner's credit card use. A new accuser steps forward, and city attorney says that Filner can be removed without a recall. I'm Eric Anderson. Those stories straight ahead on KPBS Evening Edition.
More than 600 are dead and at least 3,700 wounded in Egypt. What does it mean to San Diegans with ties to Egypt, and could the violence spread? And from the latest Jurassic Park movie to Anchorman, Top Gun, and many more, what the demise of San Diego's Film Commission means to movie makers and the city's economy. I'm Peggy Pico. KPBS Evening Edition starts now.
Thanks for joining us. Dwayne Brown is off tonight. Several new developments tonight regarding San Diego Mayor Bob Filner. City records are causing people to question his use of a city procurement card. Another woman has come forward to accuse him of inappropriate behavior. And now city council members are trying to find a way to work around the mayor on city business. Our coverage begins with credit card issues. Documents obtained by our media partner 10 News show the mayor ran up a bill of more than $11,000 on a city credit card, nearly $1,000 of it for personal expenses, and only one payment was made for months. The documents show the mayor's office didn't turn in receipts as required. The mayor's chief of staff, Lee Burdick, had the card suspended 2 weeks ago. Councilman Kevin Faulkner says the late payments threatened San Diego's credit standing, and he says the city audit committee will look into the matter. He was already planning an audit of expenses from Filner's trip to Paris back in June. City Attorney Jan Goldsmith, meanwhile, says the city charter allows removal of the mayor if the person holding that office willfully approves or allows an unauthorized payment from the city treasurer and is subject to removal from office. The memo to the city council was a response to a question about city rules for impeachment. There currently are none. High-profile lawyer Gloria Allred held a third press conference in San Diego today, this time with a new woman accusing the mayor of sexual harassment. KPBS Metro reporter Sandia Dirks was at the press conference and joins us now to tell us what happened. Sandia, so who was this latest accuser?
Well, her name is Peggy Shannon, and she's a 67-year-old woman who is a part-time employee at City Hall. She worked in the lobby. She was there to help out seniors and to give them the lay of the land. But she says her job turned into a nightmare.
On the day that Mayor Filner grabbed me and kissed me, I was so surprised. I went home and cried.
She says his behavior and attention made her so uncomfortable that she began to become afraid to go to work. And she accuses the mayor of constantly asking her out. She says he touched her and told her things like he could go for 8 hours in one night. Lawyer Gloria Allred, who has become a regular in San Diego this past month, says it's more proof that the mayor needs to resign.
Mayor Filner, you suggested that you can go 8 hours. But Mayor Filner, we don't care how long you can go. We just want you to go.
So what action is Shannon going to be taking?
Well, at this point, she's just coming forward and telling her story. In addition, she's speaking with the San Diego County Sheriff's Department. They're investigating the mayor. And she has also filed a complaint with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Allred also says that after the first allegations came out, the mayor walked by Shannon's desk, put his finger to his lips, and said, "Shh." Shannon said she was really scared. As for Allred, she says her next step is to depose the mayor. She says the mayor can lie at a press conference, but he can't lie under oath.
KPBS Metro reporter Sandia Dirks. Sandia, thanks. The state has received a third complaint against the mayor. The Department of Fair Employment and Housing will only say the complaint was filed last week. City Council President Todd Gloria wants his staff to find a way around the mayor to get lobbyists working for the city again. Gloria says the mayor fired the city's lobbyists 8 months ago, and he hasn't found replacements, despite a number of requests from the city council. Gloria says this has created a vacuum at a vulnerable time.
That vacuum has been occurring at the same time that Congress has dealt with federal sequestration. They're looking at a new round of base closures. Sacramento has been unwinding redevelopment and is preparing for a water bond. These are big issues where San Diego needs to be represented, and we are currently not. That's unacceptable, and if the mayor will not act, the council will have to.
Gloria notified the mayor of his actions in a memo. It's one of many notices from the city council. Gloria says they're intended to highlight the mayor's efficiencies prior to the allegations made against him. The mayor's office is not commenting on any of today's developments. However, his staff did announce $133,000 worth of grants that are going to several community groups. The money is from a citywide small business enhancement program. All of our coverage of the controversies surrounding the mayor can be found online at kpbs.org/news/Filner. Escalating violence in Egypt prompted President Barack Obama to cancel a joint military exercise with the Egyptians. Peggy Pico talks with a Middle East expert about the military crackdown and why it matters in San Diego.
The latest reports put Egypt's death toll at over 600, with more than 3,700 injured. And while the president canceled next month's planned joint training exercise with the Egyptian military, Egypt still receives military aid from the U.S. Here to help put this situation into context is Associate Professor Fareed Abdel Noor from the Political Science Department at San Diego State University. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, Professor, it's a difficult concept for Westerners to see how the Egyptian military ousting Mohamed Morsi, Egyptian's first democratic elected president, is part of a democratic movement. What is your take on it? How can you spin that for us to understand?
That is indeed a difficult one, and I think it's not self-evident that one should look at it as a democratic movement. But what I think is worth looking at is why there were millions of people on the streets demanding that the democratically elected president leave. So there was a movement in Egypt that collected signatures. It collected 22 million signatures to have him removed. So I think the question that's worth asking is why so many people are rejecting their own democratically elected choice.
Could part of it be that they're new to democracy and they don't understand that you could just wait for 3 years and do it through a democratic voting process?
I don't think that's a helpful way to think about it. Their understanding of democracy is quite rich. And they understand that democracy is not just elections. They understand that winning elections is only one aspect of the democratic ideal. They realize that winning elections is only one aspect, and that what's needed more is that people's equal rights and liberties be protected and that social justice be provided. These last two things have not been provided.
And it wasn't in that first 2 years, but before...
1 year. It was 1 year.
Well, the 1 year, right, since he was elected.
Can I just clarify one thing?
Sure.
Egypt did not have a constitution when Mohamed Morsi was elected. So when you talk about the outcome of an election when there is no constitution, it's a very different story from talking about elections within the framework of a constitution.
Correct.
Since Egypt had no constitution, the mandate for Mohamed Morsi was not the same one that he necessarily thought he had. A lot of people thought that they did not elect him so that he can realize the program of his party and his movement. But he understood, I think, and many of his supporters understood their victory as a victory for their ideology.
Let's go with that, because, you know, the United States has the Bill of Rights in place to make sure that the majority couldn't overpower the minority. Do you think a Bill of Rights could take place now that the military is in charge? Can that go forward for Egypt?
I don't know, but the demand for a constitution that safeguards basic rights and liberties has been present among Egyptians for a long time, and they were making that demand in November and December when the constitutional draft was being written. But that was rammed through the process in a very short period of time with the support of 60% of the people who voted, but only 30% turnout for a constitution. So imagine Egypt, from December until today, has been living under a constitution that has been supported by only 60% of 30% of the electorate. So the constitution itself did not have legitimacy. Now, that doesn't mean that it justifies the military intervention. It certainly does not justify the military taking over and kicking out the president. I'm just trying to explain how it comes about and why that so many millions of people would support the removal of a president who was elected to come to power. It's not for lack of understanding democracy. It's precisely because they understand it very well.
Okay, let's talk about the U.S. involvement. You know, U.S. provides more than $1 billion in military aid. What message does that send to Americans and to the Egyptians on either side of this revolution, as you're calling it?
The military aid that the United States provides to Egypt is part of a very long-standing relationship that's now 40 years old. The military connection between Egypt and the United States is the one constant thing that has made the United States government very reassured, no matter which government comes to power, the relationship with Egypt is secure. So the military relationship with Egypt is secure and solid, it's very clear. And I think even if the $1.3 million were to disappear, which I don't think they will, I think we can be sure that that relationship is very solid.
Let me ask you this last question here. We have many San Diegans here connected to Egypt, either through family, friends, or businesses. What is your advice to them right now as far as either trying to connect or travel to the region?
I don't know how to give advice about how to whether to travel and connect. One thing I can say is that I feel I feel with them. And I feel with this sense that you see parts of your society back home being torn apart. And sometimes it's not easy to take sides in this conflict, because in a sense you can see right on both sides. You can certainly sympathize with the members of the Muslim Brotherhood who are being slaughtered today, but it doesn't mean that one does not understand the people who demonstrated originally against Morsi and against the Muslim Brotherhood on June 30th and after.
Okay, Professor Fareed Abdel Noor, thank you so much. I want to let folks know we're going to have a whole lot more of this on our website and also on PBS NewsHour tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Sequan Reservation has nearly tripled in size. Federal officials approved the tribe's application to add 1,400 acres to its existing reservation, land that they bought some time ago. Sequan tribal members celebrated the addition to their reservation on the shores of newly renamed Willow Lake. Sequan Chair Daniel Tucker says the expansion is more than just symbolic.
This is about coming home, getting our land, having people live on our land, our people live on the land with nice homes, and being able to say, hey, this is where we live. This is our reservation.
Sequan elder George Prieto said a prayer in his native tongue.
The
good Lord said we'd get our land back, the prayer said. The nearly 1,400 acres being added run through the Dehesa Valley. The Sequan Golf Club and Hotel Resort are now part of the reservation. Congressman Darrell Issa says the move will preserve the rural character of the valley.
The tribal presence, to a great extent, means that there will be open space, sparsely populated, where otherwise there would be endless development in our country.
The addition took 7 years to win approval, and the Bureau of Indian Affairs, Amy Duchke, says the original application was for 1,900 acres.
Of course, there was a number of endangered species and plants that the service was concerned about, and the tribe worked in cooperation with the service to actually set aside that 600 plus acres out of their application to trust.
Duchke says it's a pretty big expansion as they go. She says most reservation expansions are 10 to 40 acres. Officials in Escondido say they're going to work to keep a defunct golf course from turning into a housing tract. An overflow crowd packed the council chambers last night. Escondido Golf Club owner Michael Schlesinger says he will fight the council in court.
But the fact that the council voted without all the information is bad news for the taxpayers, and potentially will end up in a country club bailout that the taxpayers will have to foot the bill for.
Schlesinger says it would cost millions to renovate the club. Neighbors say that he never had any intention of fixing it up, and they say his plan to build homes will increase traffic and drive down property values. After 36 years, the San Diego Film Commission is no more. Peggy Pico talks with the commission's founder about the closure's impact on the city.
At its peak, the San Diego Film Commission says it brought in up to $100 million a year of direct revenue for the city. But after several years of cuts, the Tourism Authority laid off the last 3 commission members and dismantled it. Kathy Anderson, CEO of the San Diego Film Commission, joins me with the details. And Kathy, welcome.
Thank you.
So briefly tell us, why did San Diego lose our film commission?
It was a lack of funding, and I think it was funded by the wrong entity. They only valued hotel room nights.
So the Tourism Authority did that. Who funded it before?
The city, county, and port.
Oh, so there was a little broader pay base there. Now, the commission has been around for decades and brought quite a bit of Hollywood here to San Diego. I want to show folks some of that.
Okay.
Okay, we're looking at a Jurassic Park. We're looking at a T-Rex here eating part of San Diego. Of course, folks will remember Top Gun as one of the memorable productions that were here, but there were so many others. Tell us about some of the others and some of the other productions that you helped bring here.
Well, I brought in a producer named Stu Siegel, which left $800 million here of mostly television production. Silk Stockings, Renegade, Nightman, just a number of projects.
Give us an example of how these projects had a direct financial impact on the city.
Well, for instance, Veronica Mars that shot here at the school even, 200 vendors worked on it, and about $2 million per episode was spent. And they had about 100 local hires on it, and they used students too to work on it. So they had just all kinds of money spent all over town.
Caterers, gaffers,
yes,
just really hands-on and jobs.
Yes, 200 different local vendors.
Explain for us what the commission actually does.
The commission was the permit office, the concierge, regulated filming, made certain it was safe, did some location scouts to promote more production. It went out and worked with writers and actually pitched and got projects here based on our experience and knowledge.
Sure, I understand Bruce Almighty was actually scheduled to go to Portland, and you talked him into coming here.
Yes, it was for 2 weeks of filming, and we matched a scene. Otherwise, it would have gone to Portland, and so it was a partnership that really paid off for San Diego.
Mm-hmm. The Film Consortium is a nonprofit that's been around for about a year, I understand, and they announced today that they're going to help fill the void left by the commission being dismantled. Do you think they're going to be able to do that?
Well, there's a lot of organizations coming in to step up, and I think that we need all the help we can get. However, you want to be careful. There's an expectation level by film industry people. They don't want bureaucracy. They don't want extra steps. So we hope to get back to what the expectation is for San Diego.
And in that expectation, do you see the Film Commission being revived in the future?
I hope so. There is interest, so I hope so.
And if it was, what would you like to see it look like this time around?
Modern, new, more technology, and hopefully more champions.
And again, how would it be funded then?
By government. It needs to be funded by government so it can be the permit office, because with the permit office you can regulate and control the production.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the thing about that is a lot of filmmakers say, well, we can just go straight to the city office. Why not do that?
Well, they can. If they go straight, and they do now. I mean, that's the way it is. But what you'll miss out on is, the extra troubleshooting, proactive work. It was a oral process before that included all the other entities. So it was a shortcut.
It was very hands-off.
Yes.
Correct.
One-stop shop saved lots of time and money for the filmmaker.
Okay. Well, we will hopefully get to talk to you again and then see how this pans out in the future. Kathy Anderson, founder of San Diego Film Festival or Film Commission. Thank you.
Thank you.
There is a new way to make sure that tuberculosis patients are taking their daily dose of medicine. KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg has that story.
Most cases of tuberculosis can be cured with a 6-month course of antibiotics, but getting patients to take their drugs over that length of time is a challenge. To make sure patients stay on track, public health agencies send workers out to watch patients take their daily dose of medication. This directly observed therapy is labor-intensive and expensive. Today at UC San Diego, the school's Dr. Richard Garfien unveiled Video DOT, or Video Directly Observed Therapy, using a patient's smartphone. Using a special app, TB patients record themselves taking their drugs.
I'll be taking 2 rifampin, 600 milligrams.
They then post their video to a secure server where public health workers can watch it. Dr. Garfien says thanks to a grant from the Verizon Foundation, they've been able to successfully test video DOT in San Diego and Tijuana. Now they're getting ready for a larger scale tryout in New York and San Francisco.
And the idea will be to try this out with 50 new patients in each city and just make sure that all the technology is still working. And at the same time, that process will be teaching the staff at these health departments how to use it.
Dr. Garfien thinks his invention will be a helpful tool in the fight against TB.
By lowering the cost of delivering DOT using mobile phones, it lowers the threshold. So in fact, more patients could actually be put on DOT that currently are not being monitored at all. And that can have a dramatic impact on the epidemic of tuberculosis worldwide.
Kenny Goldberg, KPBS News.
Soon you're going to be able to use your smartphones, tablet computers, and laptops easier at Balboa Park. The park is expanding its Wi-Fi services throughout the Central Mesa. City Council President Todd Gloria says it's a big step toward ensuring the city's crown jewel keeps up with the times.
Balboa Park, we're going to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the Panama, California Exposition in 2015. We, as a generation of San Diegans, have a responsibility to make sure the park is going to be magnificent for another 100 years.
Not only will visitors be able to surf the web, the Wi-Fi expansion also opens the doors for Balboa Park facilities to interact with users, like webcasting organ concerts or developing location-specific applications. Logging on begins August 23rd. A nonprofit group helping youth find jobs after being arrested has jumped on the food movement bandwagon, using gardening to teach them responsibility and help springboard them into the local food industry. The story from our Speak City Heights reporter, Bianca Bruno.
My job is to come here and chop up most of the stuff, like help them cross off most of the stuff off the list.
17-year-old Michael Miles works as an intern at the South Park farm-to-table restaurant Alchemy. As a prep cook, his days consist of chopping vegetables and flattening 7 ounces of grass-fed beef into a perfect hamburger patty. His colleague, 19-year-old Marshawn Jackson, works in the art-filled dining room, filling water glasses and seating guests. He says the tree-lined streets and boutique restaurants of South Park are a far cry from where he and Miles grew up, Skyline in southeast San Diego.
The thugs that hang around and drug dealers and just crimes that were committed around that area. I was just influenced at a young age of negativity, so I never looked at positive stuff.
Both teens have been in trouble with the law. Jackson served 9 months for stealing cars. Miles went to juvenile hall for a week for vandalizing property. He says his future looked bleak until he got involved with Second Chance, a job readiness program on Imperial Avenue.
And I was just always out with my friends. Didn't really have nothing really going for me, really, so I was just going to be another minority in the streets. But then, once Second Chance did kick in, it helped me out a lot, showed me a new perspective of life.
Second Chance is an intensive job training boot camp where youth and adults who've committed crimes learn interview skills, how to work in groups, and build their resumes. But it was at the Second Chance Garden, across from a trolley stop, and among rows of artichokes and carrots, where Jackson says he learned some valuable skills.
I learned patience. Yeah, that was the main thing. Because the first time I planted something, I thought in 4 days it would be blooming, but you just had to wait, and nourish it.
Jackson is putting that patience to work at Alchemy. He's hoping to be brought on as a paid employee, and he has a good chance. Alchemy owner Ron Troiano says Jackson has grown by leaps and bounds during his internship.
Something that's, I think, essential for all of us is confidence, that they've done something, accomplished something, set out to accomplish a goal, done that, achieved that goal, and whether it was just learning how to work a knife or to follow a recipe, or for Marshawn, if it was learning how to interact with people and feel comfortable about that, because that confidence will enable them to achieve other things.
Second Chance graduate Samantha Arpalan is working in a vegetable bed in a North Park backyard.
I learned how to grow them. I learned how to take care of them. So yeah, never came across it before though. If it wasn't for Second Chance, I wouldn't have known how much I like to plant.
The 19-year-old is a second-chance success story. She ran away from foster care at 13 and had a baby at 14. Now she's getting paid to help the San Diego Seed Company get off the ground. She started as an intern, setting up the backyard microfarms where the company develops seeds. Second Chance Youth Coordinator Ricky Valdez says success for these young people goes beyond dollars earned.
They also begin to take more of an ownership of their community by feeling that they're part of the mainstream solution rather than always being part of the problem. So the Urban Garden is just an avenue for them to be engaged. And for us, it was a creative way for us to engage youth with the wider community's efforts. And instead of working against the community, they work alongside a lot of the leaders in this community.
And Jackson says that attitude change was grown in the garden across from the trolley tracks.
It's very calming to know that you're growing a life and it's progressing because of you.
How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel like a father of plants.
For KPBS News, I'm Bianca Bruno.
Morning clouds and fog still in the forecast for our coastline. Temperatures in the mid-80s in the inland valleys, upper 80s for the mountains, over 100 degrees expected out in the desert. Tonight's stories are online at kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks very much for joining us. Have yourself a good night.